Hey there, everybody. When I was younger, I used to move in some object manipulation circles. I still do, but I used to too. For those of you who aren't aware, that's things like juggling or poi, technical fans, um, things of that nature, where you are working with a prop for performance art or dance or a martial art or any of those things figure under the umbrella of object manipulation. But one of the things that I learned to have a more, let's call it cognitive control over, was the idea of proprioception, which is your body's systems and abilities to measure force and resistance and muscle control and your ability to gain feedback from the way you move and the way that objects you are moving against or with impart feedback back to you that helps you to continue those movements or to make changes. And I think that that's a good analog to stretching your brain and your cognitive control over your ability to accept feedback when you are working on a forest garden project or a food forest project. I'm calling this a part of the Food Forest in a Forest series because I really feel that in a mature aged forest, the concerns and considerations and some of the biofeedback that you receive as the steward is characteristically different than a smaller or younger forest setting, simply because the scale is different and the timelines are different. And particularly in a cold environment like ours, you will be hard pressed to find trees that will grow to the sizes you see or the ones that you don't in this shot within a small amount of time. Certainly not quickly enough for you to have the sense of grandeur, I guess, or an appropriate human scale consideration for the size of some of these trees. So what do I mean by the biofeedback mechanisms and your cognitive control over them? There's a second set of senses that people have that are informed by our primary senses, things like sight, smell, taste, touch, and hearing. But we have a sense of wonder that is informed by our sense of proprioception and our bodies compared to the things that we are seeing and the scale of them, and an inherent comparison between our size as people and the scope of the landscape in which we are absorbing and observing. There are things like your sense of adventure. And your sense of adventure can partially be informed by your sense of sight and whether or not you can see around a turn or around a small partial obstruction, but it's also informed in how you are hearing things, and it plays into, can I see my target or will I have to continue moving? Do the sounds of the environment give me a sense of reassurance that things are okay? There's a fine line between a sense of adventure and excitement or a sense of dread or apprehension. Part of that can tie into the temperature that you are feeling, and so it goes into not just sight and hearing, but also touch and the way that your body is responding to the total environment. All of that informs your sense of adventure or your sense of excitement or exploration. We have a sense of balance, and if you've ever even worn a pair of mismatched socks that are of different thicknesses, you'll know just how sensitive the feeling can be when you are slightly off. And so, personally, I think that there is a huge value in knowing, whether through a spirit level or a water level or some kind of laser sighting, what elevations and contours you are working with. But at the same time, there is such an immense value in what your body, your proprioceptive feedback is telling you about the trail you are walking or the ground you are moving through. There's a point at which perfectly level and perfectly in line with things from a technical measurement standpoint become almost sterile, almost not personable. It seems weird to anthropomorphize a trail or a walking path, but there's portions of our early brain and biofeedback mechanisms in our own skulls, in our own brains, that causes us to more deeply appreciate things that are slightly off or engage us or give us that sense of feeling out where the best places to walk are. There is an art and a joyfulness to it, I think. And when your constructs or your designs or your implementations of those designs take out that human body feedback information, there is a risk, I feel, that it will be less enjoyable overall to your experience than if you were to, in some areas, forego the measurement tools that are not your own body. In thinking about our sense of exploration again, there are aspects to the way that we can see the path that we're taking, the obstructions on that path, whether there is room or the space to navigate through. There is a sense of wonder and excitement when you have to brush past certain things, but there is also a sense of foreboding or a sense of, je ne sais pas. There's a sense that you have to pick a different path. There is, on that exploration dread continuum, there's a preference in very many people towards sunnier spots, or to not go through large dark patches. There's visual components to these, such as where your sight line is, whether you can see your destination or a portion of your destination, but there's also things on your periphery. And things like motion, we are much more sensitive to on the periphery of our vision than in the center of our vision. And a sense of enclosure in a canopied space will feel different than a sense of enclosure on a side or two or three and a view to an open field. So there is a sense of either shelter or refuge to a space when there is protective sides that you can see on your periphery, but an open, clear path or a wider view from that protected space. But there is also a sense of hazard, a sense of risk that can tie into whether your sight lane is wide or if your view is narrowed by the things that are on the sides or over the top of you, or if you have your back to a wider open space. These kinds of things will play into how your matured or maturing gardens can feel. And I'm convinced, really, that there is a difference in scope and scale that some designers or some gardeners don't necessarily take into account when they are planning their designs or planning their food forests or even forest gardens. There's opportunity to take a walk in the woods for many of us. For those of you for whom this is not as readily accessible, arboretums or preserves are an absolutely wonderful opportunity to get a sense of that scale and to take an afternoon to just draw inspiration from. Because thinking about the character of an older garden system is going to give you a scope and sense of the scale of time that you have the opportunities to work with on projects like these. And so I really encourage you to think about how your garden will be after you are gone. What will the impact in the field be? Are there aspects of a natural space near you that you want to replicate the feel of? And there ought to be. That ought to be a guiding principle in your food forest or forest garden systems. That sense of integration with nature and the way that your body and your mind respond to those stimuli should inform your design. And to forego that is to deny yourself a crucial design tool. So when you take that walk, when you take that hike, that fact-finding mission of yours, and the facts are just how you feel in that space, take note of the way that your view to the side impacts. Have bare skin exposed so you can feel those microclimates, those slightly warmer or slightly cooler areas as you take your walk. What does the canopy look like? What does the under canopy look like? Do you see signs of a warmer microclimate, like exposed grass or plants, exposed soil or leaves rather than snow, or a space where things seem to be lusher or greener? Do you hear more sounds? And what are those sounds that you hear? What smells are there? How is all of this tying into how you fit into the rest of this natural system? Think about how your body feels responding to those shady or cooler areas where the canopy tightens. Think about those areas where you had to push through, but the view you found was incredible and left an indelible mark on you. All of that is going to help inform when and how you interact with some of the more matured trees that are on your property or on the site or in the surrounding area. It will inform how you manage your access to the space. It will inform how you learn to value the parts of the garden that you are not as actively managing, because they will add that additional character to the things that you are intentionally planting and nurturing. And if you're able to tie into the value and the information that you generate just by experiencing things and how you feel, that will almost always benefit the technical aspects of your designs that you are integrating as well. So I encourage all of you to go take a walk in the woods or in a climate or natural space that is similar to the system that you are hoping to unfold as you go. Till next time. Thanks for watching. Happy planting.